I'm Dr. Jim Taylor, and welcome to Prime Sport Alert. When you compete in your sport, you will in fact be competing in two competitions. The obvious competition is the one that occurs against your opponent. But the more important competition is the mental game that you play inside your head against yourself. Here's a simple reality. If you don't win the mental game, you won't win the competitive game. Contrary to what you may think, at whatever level in which you're competing, the technical and physical aspects of your sport don't determine the winner. Athletes who compete at the same level are actually very similar technically and physically. For example, is LeBron James better technically than Kobe Bryant? Is Roger Federer in better physical condition than Rafa Nadal? In both cases, the answer is no. So on any given day, what separates Serena Williams from Kim Clijsters or Tom Brady from Peyton Manning? The answer lies in who wins the mental game. Whenever I talk to athletes, I ask them what aspect of their sport seems to have the greatest impact on how they perform. Almost unanimously, they say the mental part. I then ask how much time do they devote to the mental side of their sport, and their answer is almost always little or no time. Despite its obvious importance, the mental side of sport is most often neglected, at least until a problem arises. The mistake athletes make, though, is that they don't treat their mental game the same way they treat their physical and technical aspects of their sport. You don't wait to get injured before you do physical conditioning, do you? You don't develop a technical flaw before you work on your technique, do you? Of course not. You do physical and technical training to prevent problems from arising. You should approach the mental game the same way. I've created Prime Sport Alert to assist you in just this process, ensuring that mentally you're at your best ally rather than your worst enemy. Prime Sport Alert will focus on the essentials of the mental game and give you the mental skills you need to achieve your goals. The information and tools I will share with you in Prime Sport Alert is not magic dust, and it will not produce miracles. You would not expect increases in strength by lifting weights a few times, or an improvement in technique by working on it every once in a while. The only way to improve any area, whether physical, technical, or mental, is through commitment, hard work, and patience. The information, technique, and exercises in Prime Sport Alert are designed to be user-friendly, easy to understand, and apply directly to your sport. My goal is for you to view Prime Sport Alert and go out tomorrow and use it immediately to improve your sports performance. Prime Sport Alert has several goals. First, to provide you with clear and understandable information about winning the mental game of sport. Second, simple and practical techniques that you can easily use to raise your performance to a new level. Then, to enable you to perform your best in your sport consistently when it really counts. So what exactly is Prime Sport? Well, one of the most popular phrases in sports psychology is peak performance. Athletes typically think of peak performance as performing their best, as being at the top of their game. That sounds good, doesn't it? Who wouldn't want to achieve peak performance? And when I came out of graduate school, peak performance was what I wanted athletes to achieve. But as I became more experienced as a consultant and a writer, I began to appreciate the power of words and how important it is that the words we use be highly descriptive of what we're trying to communicate. I decided that peak performance was not descriptive. I saw several problems with peak performance. First, a peak is very small, so you can't stay there very long. Would you be satisfied if you had one good competition and several poor ones? Also, once the peak is reached, there's only one way to go. That's down. And as with most peaks, the drop is usually pretty precipitous. Have you ever experienced those big swings in performance, where one week you're totally on your game, and the next you're completely off it? Also, you may arrive at the peak too early or too late, missing an opportunity for success. Have you felt the frustration of lost opportunity because you weren't on your game when you needed to be? So I needed a phrase that accurately described what I wanted athletes to achieve. I struggled for several years, unable to find such a phrase, until one day I had one of those rare meetings of readiness and luck. Walking through the meat section of a supermarket, I saw a piece of meat with a sticker on it that read, "Prime Cut." I had one of those aha experiences. I knew I was onto something. I returned to my office and I looked up prime in the dictionary. It was defined as of the highest quality or value. I finally found the phrase, prime performance, which I believed was highly descriptive of what I wanted athletes to achieve. I defined prime performance, or in this case prime sport, as performing at a consistently high level under the most challenging conditions. There are two essential words in this definition: First, consistently. I'm not interested if you can have only 1 or 2 great performances and then some poor ones. That is not enough to be truly successful. I want you to be able to train and compete at a high level, day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, all season long. This means performing with minimal ups and downs instead of those large swings that are so common among athletes. The second important word in my definition is challenging. I'm not impressed if you can perform well under ideal conditions against an easy opponent when you're on top of your game. Anyone can do that. What makes the great athletes great is their ability to perform their best under the worst possible conditions against a tough opponent when that athlete is not on their game. A question you may ask is, where does prime sport come from? Though I'll be focusing on the mental contributors, the mind is only one necessary part of prime sport. You must also be at a high level of physical health, including being well conditioned, well rested, eating a balanced diet, and free from injury and illness. Prime sport also isn't possible if you're not technically and tactically sound. If you're physically, technically, tactically, and mentally prepared, you will have the ability to achieve prime sport. Now here's a question for you. Have you ever experienced prime sport? Let me describe what it's like. First, it's effortless. It's easy, comfortable, and natural. Second, it's automatic. The body does what it knows how to do, and there's no mental interference. Third, you experience sharpened senses, seeing, hearing, and feeling everything more acutely than normal. Also, what's called a time shift. Everything slows down, enabling you to react more quickly. You'll also find you'll have effortless focus. You're totally absorbed in the experience. You'll also have boundless energy. Fatigue is simply not an issue. Finally, you'll have what I call prime integration. This is where the physical, technical, tactical, and mental are all working together to perform your best. So now you have your goal, prime sport. In the coming months, I'll share with you information and strategies you need to achieve prime sport. I'm Dr. Jim Taylor for Prime Sport Alert.